Hey everyone, this is Dave here with another look at performance in Zelda Breath of the Wild. This time we're going back to take a closer look at how the Wii U versions and Switch compare across a wider range of gameplay scenarios. Originally we found that while both versions targeted 30 frames per second, they could drop down to around 20 FPS for extended periods, but often at slightly different points in the same area. This led us to believe that there may be some differences in the way that information is actually streamed across memory, that the world is partitioned differently across both versions of the game. However, it's also possible to have the Switch version heavily drop frame rates in roughly the same places, so the issue does appear to be somewhat randomized, to an extent anyway. And the end result was that, well, neither version really came up on top. The Switch did appear to be slightly smoother at points, but worse at other times. So when we move away from the beginning area of the game, how do things fare? Kakariko Village is frequently stated as one of the more demanding areas on the Wii U, and indeed our own tests clearly show this. Extended drops down to around 19 to 20 FPS, resulting in a rather sluggish, very stuttery experience that is far from ideal, and performance consistently drops when wandering around this entire area on the Wii U. However, on Switch it's clear that this version doesn't have the same problems. There's an occasional rare dip to 25 FPS, but this doesn't happen often, and for the most part this area of the game runs at 30 FPS on Switch. Now, as we've seen before, the Switch version can sometimes drop frame rate in different places in the same area. So we went back and did our own thing in the village in an attempt to see whether performance could be impacted, but ultimately the results were very similar to our like-for-like gameplay run, which means this area definitely performs better on Nintendo's new machine. Moving on to a different area set just outside the dueling peaks, and the results again show the Switch actually benefiting from fewer frame rate drops. Here we blow up an enemy camp, resulting in some significant frame rate drops on the Wii U. But on Switch, the drop in performance is more contained. Frame rates do go down to around 25 FPS, but the engine does recover a lot more quickly, whereas on the Wii U, drops in performance is sustained for longer periods, resulting in an experience that isn't as smooth. Indeed, it does appear to be the case that when the engine is heavily taxed, the Switch generally has smoother performance in these areas. Of course, going back to the Great Plateau and the opening area of the game, and we do see the potential for the Switch to be impacted quite heavily in terms of performance. Overall then, we can say that the Switch version does indeed provide a slightly more stable experience. It's not perfect of course, and there are still some heavy frame rate drops, but we do see less of them compared to on Wii U. In fact, the docked experience is better due to the increase in resolution and less frequent frame rate drops, but it's in portable mode where the Switch version really shines. It's here where we're able to get a mostly solid 30 FPS across a general run of play. On the whole, general exploration, combat all see the game stick solidly to the desired 30 FPS mark, and it's only in GPU heavy scenarios where the frame rate begins to buckle. Alpha heavy effects, particles, that kind of thing can see frame rates drop down to near 20 FPS, but thankfully only for short periods. And interestingly, both portable and docked modes both appear to be affected to equal measure here. In any case, these hiccups in performance don't last long, and for the majority of the time the portable experience is a lot smoother than docked. Now, in order to check performance in portable mode, we had to film the screen and then go through our footage frame by frame in order to pick up any duplicates, basically to see when frames are actually being dropped. The results aren't 100% accurate, but they do give you an idea just how well the game is performing. And most of the time there is a considerable improvement over the game running in docked mode, particularly in areas where performance isn't quite so stable. We actually tried setting the Switch's video output to 720p to see if the game would be pushed into portable mode, but with us being able to play on the big screen. Unfortunately that wasn't the case, and the game continues to render out in docked mode, in this case 900p before being downsampled to 720p on output, and as a result performance remains unchanged to docked mode with the machine being set to 1080p output. So overall, Zelda Breath of the Wild has been an interesting one. It's fair to say that the experience is generally better on the Switch. Yes, the docked mode still suffers from some pretty hefty frame rate drops, but by and large, across an entire run of play, the experience is smoother, particularly at points where sometimes the Wii U tends to struggle. There's definitely an improvement with Switch, but is it worth upgrading to the console if you already own the Wii U? Well, that depends. If you're planning on playing Zelda on the go, then yeah, I do feel that the Switch version provides an improved experience over Wii U. In fact, the docked experience is better due to the increase in resolution and slightly less frequent frame rate drops, then it's definitely a worthy upgrade. So that's our updated look at performance in Zelda Breath of the Wild on Switch and Wii U. I hope you found this video useful, and if you've enjoyed all of our Switch coverage so far, please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.